everybody, how are you doing? It's so lovely to see you here again. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you don't know me, my name's Alison and I'm a 50-something witch living in Derbyshire in England, and I'm here to talk about all things witchy lifestyle, mundane lifestyle, all the things that bring us joy, and hoping to bring together a little witchy community, and I think that we're starting to achieve something as far as that goes. Now, if you've been celebrating Yule and Christmas and the New Year, I hope that you've had a really happy time. All that's behind us now, and we're looking forward to 2025, and I'm really looking forward to spending more time with you in the months ahead. And one of the things that I thought would be a great place to start is with a questions and answers, and I can't even say it, questions and answers session, because I regularly get lots and lots of questions about my life, my witchy life, my work life, and all that good stuff. And I thought that if we got that all in one place and all out of the way, that would be a good thing to do, to give you a little bit more information about me if you're interested. Now, over the last few days you've been sending in your questions for me, and some of them are absolutely brilliant, and thank you so much to everybody who's gone to the trouble of sending one in. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you find my answers interesting. There were lots and lots of questions. There was quite a lot of crossover, so if you don't see your question here, it isn't because I don't want to answer it, it's because it's answered within another question. So I hope that that makes sense. I didn't want you to be here all day listening to me going over the same thing over and over. So yeah, as I say, don't worry if you don't hear your question answered. There were a couple of questions that are more related to individual people's craft, so I will answer those questions personally within my community section in YouTube, because they're more pertinent to the people who wrote them. But with that being said, thank you so much for sending your questions in. I really appreciate it. I've got the trusty laptop with them on. I'm going to pop the questions that I'm answering up on the screen. And yeah, let's get cracking now. We've got a winter wonderland here in Derbyshire today, and we woke up to about 6 inches of snow outside, so needless to say we're going nowhere today. We're safe and snug in the house. I've got my cup of tea provided by my lovely husband, who does not drink tea, does not like tea, but makes the best cuppa I've ever had. So yeah, let's get started, and here we go with your first question. So yeah, right, we're straight in with the first question, which is, how long have you been a witch and have you got any kids? Well, the answer to the kids question is no. We don't have any children. Was never actually something that we planned to do, never something that we actively said that we wanted to do. And I actually think that within a few years of us meeting, we knew that we didn't actually want to have a family. So we're child free by choice, and it suits us. It's a decision that we're both happy with, and I've got absolutely no regrets about. Okay, so how long have you been a witch? I've been actively practicing witchcraft since about 2013. I will get into more detail with the rest of the questions that follow, but yeah, it's since about 2013. Okay, so the next question is, hi Alison. Hi. I've been a solitary hedge witch for a very long time, but recently I have considered giving it all up. Oh, please don't. I am 60 now, and I spent such a long time alone on my path. My question is, how do you manage to stay on your path and not feel totally isolated? And this person goes on to explain where they live, and that where they live there isn't much of a witchy or pagan community, which is something that I hear about a lot. And they also say that no matter how much research and reaching out they do, there's simply nothing in their area. I'm really sorry to hear that. I think some areas are luckier than others in that respect. And yeah, I actually quite enjoy being on my own path. I have worked in groups, and I do work in groups, and we'll speak more about that later. But when all is said and done, I enjoy being on my own in my practice, and it suits me fine. Now, I know that a lot of people are not 100% happy with that, and I do understand that. And I'm sorry that you don't feel absolutely happy on this path and that you're considering giving it up. I'm really sorry to hear that. I keep on my own path by adapting my craft to suit myself, and this is something that we've spoken about at length in my other videos. We make our craft our own, and we don't follow other people's rules, because I think if you try to make your craft something it isn't, you will not enjoy it, and you will soon find yourself thinking, I can't be bothered with this, I'm not enjoying this. And for me, what's helped is carving my own practice and deciding for myself what it looks like. And I'm not saying for 1 minute that this person who sent this question hasn't tried that, and I understand that. As far as local groups go, when I first set off along the path, I looked, the first thing I did was look on Facebook, and I was very, very surprised and delighted to find how many local pagan groups there were. And one of the first things I did was go along to a moot at a local pub. A moot is a pagan gathering, for anybody who's not sure what that term means. And I went along there, and later on I'll talk about something that happened that was really interesting as part of this process. But yeah, so I looked on Facebook, I found a group, I joined several actual Facebook groups, and through those groups I found the Chesterfield and Derbyshire Pagans group. So that was that. I'm just trying to work backwards and think about what happened next. Yeah, I also found a group in Mansfield that I became part of, and I did enjoy being part of that group, but unfortunately that group I don't actually think is now still up and running, which is a shame. But yeah, the Chesterfield Pagans is, and I'm still in contact with lots and lots of people from that particular group. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that was the way that I found my my people, but not everybody is that lucky. Now, I would recommend getting in touch with the Pagan Federation. I'm going to put their email address here for anybody who's interested, so that you can ask them about groups in your area, and I'm sure that they will be able to point you in the direction of like-minded people. And yeah, that might be a good place to start, but please don't, don't give it up if you can avoid it, because you've come so far and you've been practicing for so long. And I think if you can actually enjoy the solitude of being, a solitary witch, it would be a lovely thing. And I'm so sorry that you don't currently feel that way at the moment, and I really hope that you are able to find some like-minded people in your area, and who knows, you might actually be the person who gets it up and running. There's a little thought for you. Okay, second question. Hi Alison. Hi. May the new year be kind to you and all those you love and are dear to you. Thank you so much, and the same to you and your loved ones as well. My question would be, how do you find balance between all of your activities? How do you keep the faith in your beliefs when life gets crazy? This is a great question, and something that I've been having to work on a lot in recent months, because as you probably know, I have a full-time job, which is very busy. I also have an Etsy shop, and I now have YouTube as well. And yeah, it's definitely been challenging. And one of the things I've had to do, as far as keeping organised goes, is to make sure that I set boundaries for how I live my life, and I no longer agree to do stuff that I don't want to do, and I'm very mindful of how much I commit to. The thing with having an Etsy shop is that you never know how it's going to go. In November I was absolutely crazy busy, and it was brilliant, and thank you so much if you've bought anything from my shop. I appreciate it so much. And then in December, when I'd actually expected to be my busiest, it kind of fell off a cliff, which was an interesting thing. So it turned out that obviously I'd done most of my pre-Christmas stuff in November, which was great, because it meant that I could step back a little bit and take a little bit of time out. But you just don't know how it's going to go. This is the first year that I've been trading, so I just didn't know how it was going to go. And then all of a sudden it's picked up again, and excuse me, overnight I've woken up to over £400 worth of orders, which is wonderful and very exciting, but I just don't know when that's going to happen, or if that's going to happen. So I had to be prepared when that comes along, to plan that in. And so how I'll do that is I'll sit down and look at, you know, the products that I've already got made and the ones that I need to make, and I'm going to set aside time for specific projects this week in the evenings, because I'm back at work tomorrow. So yeah, I need to get organised as far as that's concerned. And also my YouTube work, I tend to not plan that far in advance. I have ideas for what I want to do and what I want to talk to you about, but I don't have any set dates put in. I do it when I feel that I've got enough energy to do it, that I've got the time to do it, and that I can give it my full attention. Like today, there's no way we're going out today. It's just not the weather for it. So I've got the time today to sit with you and do this, and hopefully get it all edited later. My actual paid work, where I do work, which we'll come to in a minute, has to be my priority, because that's the money that pays the bills, and it's a job that I love. You know, I've been doing it a long time. So yeah, but keeping the faith when I get busy, it's actually that keeps me going. If I feel under pressure or stressed or anxious about anything, I think about why I'm doing this and what it means to me and what it's brought me. And I don't mean in terms of monetary gain at all. What I mean is the contact it's brought me. I've been very lucky that I've been able to use my craft, as in my witchcraft, and my craft, as in my handicrafts, to bring this little gathering together. And that's how I look at it, as a little gathering of like-minded souls. And I love that, and it's that keeps me going. And at the front of it all, I try to keep gratitude at the front of my mind the whole time. how lucky I am, how thankful I am, how I live such a charmed life by a lot of people's standards. And I'm not saying that life hasn't been difficult in the past, because it has, but at the moment I find myself in a place, we find ourselves in a place that is everything we'd ever wanted. And it's not anything over the top, it's just a situation where we have everything we need, and I think that's key. I think that that's the important thing, is having enough of everything you need, and that is all you need in life. So yeah, I don't want to wander too far off the point, but that's what keeps me going, is being thankful, setting boundaries, and just trying to prioritize what is needed and when. And yeah, that's the best way for me to answer this question, I think. Okay, sip of tea before we crack on. Oh, he makes such a good cuppa, honestly. Right. Hello and Happy New Year, lovely Alison. Hi. I'm interested to know more about your background and how you came to your path, specifically in balancing what you do alone and how you commune with others. How did you meet your circle? And do they all hold the same beliefs as you? And this person goes on to ask, yeah, well, they tell me that they're a kitchen witch, and they're very interested in studying food folklore and traditions around food, healing and nourishment. Now that's something I could get behind. Let's have a look what else they say. I'm kind of an expert in what works for me and putting love into what I do. I don't know if I want to be following rules or other people's musts. Yes, this is brilliant. Now, so coming to the path, yeah, it's quite a long story. I'll try and keep it brief. I always knew, I think, that there was something. Ever since being this big, I was the kid who loved being in the back garden, messing up mud, mixing up potions, getting filthy. And I had friends, of course, but I was happiest on my own, and loved messing with leaves, twigs, sticks. I'm not saying that every kid who does that is a witch, although I do think that kids, they have it. All kids have it. I think they're born with it, and I think that as they grow, unfortunately, life takes over, technology takes over, and consumerism takes over, if you like, and this natural thing that they have got gets squashed, and I think that's really sad. When I was growing up, I was born in 1978, we didn't have that level of need for stuff in our lives that kids these days seem to have, and I loved being outside, playing in the mud, and being in my own head. And as I got older, I had the feeling that I was looking for something, and I hear this all the time, and I hear what I'm going to say, I hear a lot, and it seems to be common to a lot of us. I tried to repress what I was beginning to realise that I was, and during my 30s, I had a terrible time with my mental health. I was very ill, and also at that time I was increasingly responsible for my mum, who I was still at home with at that time. I was the youngest of 5 children, and it's very common, I think, that the youngest child in a family tends to, how can I put it, become responsible for an aging parent. And that's not to say that my lovely sister hasn't been there with me through all this, because she has, but she was married with a family of her own by this point. I was with Mark, but he'd had the same situation with his mum as well. I mean, I've been with Mark for 30 years this year. I didn't know if that was something that you knew, but yeah, we've been together for a very long time. And yeah, I had a terrible problem with my mental health. I was very ill, and one of the reasons I think for that was because I was struggling to be what I knew I was. Didn't feel that I could be what I knew I was. And I know this is probably going to resonate with a lot of people. I thought the answer was religion. I thought the answer was God. And I started going to church regularly, and I was so confused by everything, was so convinced that the life that I'd been living was completely wrong, was immoral, was not right. Really started hating myself, and if anything, it made it worse. It just made it so much worse what I was feeling. And needless to say, I soon decided that church life was not for me. And the irony is that I actually met some brilliant people who went to the church, and I mean, it wasn't what I would call a sinister church. It was an actual church, you know, a proper village church where I was born and brought up. And I'm still in touch with some of those people who, they are devout Christians, and they are lovely people, and they will always be in my life. And we can have discussions about our faiths, and it's all good. And to me, that is exactly how it should be. That's exactly how we should live, and I'm here for that. Now, what happened was, I'd kind of had a look into what being a witch meant, but I'd had in my head the idea, thanks to the church, that it was something wrong. And I started reading books, which I've spoken about before, and suddenly it started to dawn on me that I was a grown-up now, and if this was what I was, this was what I was. And I started to get this kind of excuse me, this feeling of, I think this might be it. I think this is it. I'm absolutely convinced that this is it. And the more I looked into it, and the more I kind of got it into my head, the better I felt. But I still wasn't quite ready. And then what happened was, not long after we were married, we got married in May 2011. And in the August of that year, Mark became very ill, very suddenly. And what happened was, he developed kidney stones. Now, I have to tell you that they have been something that has blighted Mark's life especially, and mine, ever since that point. And we've been married 14 years in May. And poor Mark has been through the worst time you can possibly imagine. He's what's known as a super stone maker, and that means his body keeps making kidney stones. And within a couple of year period, Mark had 11 lots of surgery to try and rid him of these stones, and he developed sepsis 3 times. And had an absolutely terrible, terrible time. As time passed, it became apparent that he was going to have to give up work because of this. But anyway, yeah, so the point I'm getting to is that Mark was in hospital, and many, many, many times. And on one of the occasions that he was in hospital, he was in the next bed to an absolutely lovely, lovely guy called Steve. And Steve is one of those people who has this energy about him. He loves everybody. He respects everybody. He respects every faith, every creature on the earth. He is such, I call him a universalist. I wouldn't call him a witch. I would call him a universalist, because he just loves everybody. And he and Mark hit it off straight away. And when I met Steve and his lovely wife Sam, I straight away knew that he was somebody who was going to have a big impact on my life. And we had several discussions about nature, about the craft, about everything else that came under the umbrella of paganism. And I was explaining to Steve how I felt, and he said the words, "You do know you're a witch, don't you?" And it hit me like a thunderbolt. And I thought, well, if somebody else can see it, he's just saying what I know is true. And he was the person who told me that you should wait for the books to come to you, because until that point I've been devouring book after book after book, and it just wasn't going in because there was so much information. You know how many witchcraft books are out there. And I took that advice on board, and that's what I started doing, and that's what started happening. The books started coming to me. Anyway, next thing that happened was that I put feelers out to look for pagan groups, which I found. I found the Chesterfield Moot, and I tentatively went along to one, and Steve was there. And he'd not said anything about groups. I didn't know that it was a thing. There he was, and he was the friendly face who greeted me there. And yeah, anyway, Steve is still in my life. We're still in touch with Steve. That's how I started off down the path, and that was how I came to meet the first pagan witchy people that crossed my path. And one of those people is the lovely Cheryl, who became my best friend, and who I don't know how I'd have got this far without, because she's just been an inspiration. She's a fantastic friend. And yeah, what tends to happen, I think, and this is a common thing amongst groups, is that there are groups within groups. So I was invited to join a couple of ritual groups from the Chesterfield Pagans, and yeah, but eventually they kind of hived off, as we call it, and now I'm just in 2 small groups, and they suit me fine. There's a question about covens later on, and I'll come to that. But yeah, that's how I set out along the path, and I'll answer about how I carve my own craft in another question. Hope that wasn't too long-winded, but that's the point I was trying to make, is that yeah, I went to church, hated it, it sent me off in the right direction from there, and that's how I found myself here. Okay, so next up, what started you on the path of witchcraft, which we've covered, and do you follow any particular mythology, pantheon or pagan path? No, I don't. I don't follow any particular path. I would consider myself to be an eclectic witch. When I first started out, I thought that the only form of witchcraft was Wicca, which I now know to be completely untrue. And I did read a lot of Wiccan books, and I still do, you know, because they were the first books I read, and I'll always be grateful to them. One in particular, which you probably know about. Now, one of the beauties of the of paganism and whatever else you want to call it is that we are free to carve our own path, and my path aligns with the wheel of the year, which, as you know, is a Wiccan concept. I try to align myself with it and embrace the seasons as they come. I try to apply quite a strict moral code to how I live. I try very hard not to be judgmental of other people, although frankly some people need judging, but anyway, that's for another day. Yeah, I just try to be the best person I can be, and I try to be a force for good, and I hope that that is apparent. I try not to, I don't want to put a polish on anything. I want you to see my real life. I don't want anyone to ever feel that you have to have certain tools or look a certain way or act a certain way to be a witch. There are as many forms of witchcraft as there are fish in the sea, you know, and I can only talk to you about my craft and how I work, and in the same way that you are free to do exactly what works for you. You'll never hear me say, you shouldn't do that, that's not right, you know, that's wrong, you know, that's not how something works. If it's what works for you, it's your craft, that's fine. But yeah, I don't follow any particular pantheon. I have worked with deity. I have worked with Demeter, I have worked with Hecate, but as I move further into my craft and it develops, I am less and less drawn to working with deity, personified deity, whatever you want to call it. I am happiest with working with myself, if that makes sense, and working with what I've got around me with my own head and heart. And as I get older and as my confidence develops in myself, that is where my path is taking me. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, no, I don't follow a particular path. No. Excuse me. Okay, next question. Hi, Alison. Hi. What actual job do you do? Also wonder when and what attracted you to the way of the witch. Do people look to you for help all the time? You're a complete inspiration to me. Oh, thank you. I've always been interested but didn't know in what. Okay, thank you. That's a lovely question. So I've answered about what attracted me to the way of the witch. Do people look to me for help all the time? I do get asked. I get asked how I would deal with something. I get asked to cast spells for people, which I don't do. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I had asked in the past of other people I didn't actually ask directly for somebody to cast spells for me, because I knew in my heart that that wouldn't be the right thing for me to do. I knew that if I was going to cast spells, it had to be me, it had to be my work, and I understood that very quickly. But I just want to put, you know, total transparency. My spellcraft probably represents about this much of my actual practice. It's something that I do very, very rarely. And when I say cast a spell, I mean, you know, get the full kit out and, you know, pull out the big guns, as I call it. You can cast spells every single day just with your head, and I think that we all do that. But the last time I cast a full-on spell was in 2022. That was a big important spell, and yes it worked, and ever since then I haven't needed to. I honestly think that you only pull out the big guns when you've exhausted every other avenue relating to a problem or situation. Otherwise, if you do it and it doesn't work, you've not really got anywhere else to go. And I hope that that makes sense. If you cast spells every single day and it works for you, that's brilliant. But for me, it doesn't. And I'm very practical, as well as, you know, my good friend described me as having my feet on the ground and my head in the clouds. And I love that, because that sums me up. So yeah, I'm very practical, and I like to look at the logic behind something before I go in with a magical solution. So yeah, and yes, so yeah, the people do ask, but I try and gently guide them towards a practical solution to their situation. And now, yeah, my actual job, I work at the University of Sheffield, which is a big local university, something like 30,000 students. And I work in finance at the Students' Union, and it's my job with our lovely little team to administer all the finance for the organisation. Something like 500 employees, and we deal with basically all the money that comes through the Students' Union. So we deal with paying artists for gigs. We deal with the finances for over 200 student societies. It's a very, very busy job. It's very deadline driven, which actually suits me, because I work quite well with deadlines. Yeah, so I've been there for 27 years. It's a long time. It's been a huge part of my life, and excuse me, I love it. It's never the same day twice. The people I work with are absolutely fantastic. And yeah, so that's what I do for a living. I work full time. I work in the office 3 days a week and at home for 2 days. It's fantastic. Brilliant employer. Could not have got through some of the most difficult times in my life without the people that I work with, who are fabulous. And yeah, it's a great place to work, and I would really miss it if I didn't have it. So yeah, that's how I earn my actual living. And as far as my friends go, I've got lots of witch friends, lots and lots of witch friends, but I've also got lots of non-witch friends, you know, friends I've known for years. And yeah, I've got a very healthy mix, I think. and I'm very lucky to have some really, really good friends who I don't know what I'd do without. So yeah, they are a mix, and yeah, I think that that's a good thing. I think that it's helpful to have balance in your life, in all areas, so that really, really works well for me. Okay, next up. Greetings, Alison. Hi. I'm curious if you've ever participated in a coven. What tradition do you follow, or are you eclectic? Okay, so yeah, I think I've covered the eclectic thing. I pick and mix from whatever suits me at any given moment. As far as participating in a coven goes, no, I haven't. I've been to some rituals held by covens that I was invited to, which were fantastic. Really, really enjoyed them. But the hierarchy of a coven doesn't suit me. It doesn't work for me. It feels too much like church, if that makes sense. I'm sure it isn't for the people that are in covens. That's fantastic. But I don't work well in a situation where there's somebody in overall charge, if that makes sense. And in my craft, everyone's equal. There's no high priest or high priestess. And in the groups that I work in, we take it in turns to create and lead ritual. And we do very little magical working together. And that suits me as well. And the reason for that is that when you're in a group and you do magical working, it's not always easy to know what the other people's intent is. And for me, magical work is all about intent, and I need to be absolutely certain that we're on the same page before we do any kind of magical work. So we don't tend to do that much magical work together, and we save that for ourselves, and that works fine for me. So no, I'm not in a coven, but I respect people who are, and I respect the idea of a coven, but it doesn't work for me. If you tell me how you feel about covens, if you're in a coven, if it works for you, tell me what you like about it. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but as I say, you do what's right for you. Tell me about your experiences. I would love to know, and thank you for that question. This is a great question. My journey started after several unexplainable events occurred over a few years where I finally couldn't ignore it anymore. It started me questioning and looking into all things witchy and spiritual. My question is, have you ever experienced anything unexplainable, possibly supernatural or synchronistic, that has changed the way you look at life? This is a great question. I've already mentioned meeting Steve. I think he came into my life at a time that I needed him. So that to me was a big synchronistic event. And I wouldn't say that I've ever really experienced anything truly supernatural, because the reason I say that is not because I'm closed off to it, but I think that every aspect of life is natural, including the supernatural, if that makes sense. I think that the very fact that we are alive is a miracle. That this massive stuff, blood, bones and stardust, basically lives and breathes and gets to experience life. So I think that's miraculous in itself. As far as supernatural, I don't know if you mean something ghostly or woo. I've already explained in previous videos about our house and how I fully believe that we were meant to be here, and I still feel the people who were here before us, Jack and Mavis, and I know they're probably listening and thinking, what is she talking about? But anyway, two other events that have made me look completely differently at life, completely differently. In fact, I would say 3 events. One was the death of my oldest friend, who died in his sleep, age 40, and that was an event that shook me to my absolute core, and was the catalyst for my life changing. I fully believe that. I still miss him and talk about him and think about him every day, and I will always love him and miss him. And I was present at the death of my mum and Mark's mum, and those 2 events, I don't know how to explain it. The loss of your mum is the most profound thing. I know everybody isn't as lucky as we've been, because our mums were fantastic, and I know not everybody has had fantastic relationships with their mums, and I can only speak from my own experience. And yeah, I was at both their passings, and they were something that, this is going to sound very strange, but you'll probably understand. I would not have missed those events for the world. I wouldn't have missed them for anything, and if I had my time again, I'd do exactly the same. I wouldn't miss it for anything. But they gave me a completely different perspective on life and made me more keen than ever to forge ahead with my own path and live my own authentic life. So no, those were not, they were not supernatural experiences. They were completely natural, and they were the correct order of things. And those events made me appreciate that even more. And no, I would not have missed that for anything. So yeah, they were life-changing. And if you've been through a similar experience, I think you might understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, a bit of a fun one now to lighten the mood. Where is it? Okay, Happy New Year, lovely lady. Hi, Happy New Year. Your tattoos, obviously, as much as you're happy to share about them, but the ones you showed with your new bee are absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much. I absolutely love tattoos. I have always loved them ever since my brother came home from work one day, and he'd been and got a Black Panther tattooed on his arm. My brother's a lot older than me, and I always idolised him when I was a little girl. Still do, I mean, he's lovely. But yeah, he came home with this tattoo, and I would have been like 6 at the time. And I was fascinated by this Black Panther on his arm, and couldn't understand how it was still there when he'd been in the shower. And ever since that point, I've loved them. But it was a long time until I actually got my first tattoo, which you've probably not seen yet. It's a tiny rose just here. I can't show you today, obviously, because I'm well covered. But I got that after a breakup that I went through. I spent 3 years in a very, this is something that I've never told you before, a very abusive and controlling relationship, and it was horrible. And I finally escaped. And the first thing I did when I recovered and got my life back together was I went to get a tattoo, and it was tiny. I mean, it's literally about this big, and it's almost, I mean, it's faded so much. I will try and put a little picture in of it actually, but to me that tattoo represented the start of a new life, and I'll never get rid of it. I'll never cover it up, because it just means so much to me. This tiny little thing. So yeah, that was my first one. And then I have got others, but the reason I'm not going to go into it in any great depth at the moment is because in February, I've got another appointment booked for a new tattoo to go on my arm. Now, my lovely friend Laura has for years been working at a studio in Sheffield, and she's been working on my arm for me, but she has recently opened her own studio along with her brother Oliver, and I am so delighted for her. I'm just over the moon, and it's been a long time coming, and it's her time to shine. It's time she stepped out from everybody else's shadow and took credit for her lovely work, because she's brilliant. And she's agreed for me to take you along with me on my appointment and actually vlog the whole process. So I'm going to come at it from the angle of, you know, if you've never had a tattoo before, this is what happens. This is how it works. This is what happens on the day, and this is how to look after it. So yeah, I'm so excited about that, and I know that a lot of you have probably got far more tattoos than I have, but yeah, I love them, and I'm very lucky that I'm in a job where I don't have to worry about having tattoos, so I can just basically, you know, get whatever I want. I know that everybody's not that lucky. It's sad that in this day and age you still have to consider it in some roles, but there it is. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about that really, but I love tattoos. I absolutely love them. I don't care where they are on someone's body. I don't care what they are of. I just think they are brilliant, and even the ones that some people would consider to be really badly done, I think they're brilliant because they're part of somebody's story. And yeah, I love them, and I'm really looking forward to having some more work done on this arm, because as you might know, I wasn't able to get tattooed for quite a while because I'm on medication because of my heart issue, and it's a blood thinner, and I was really worried about how a new tattoo would heal. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, we just decided to go for it, and so I had my new B, which is there, and I've just been delighted by how well he's healed. I'm just thrilled to bits, and now I've got more confidence going forward to hopefully get my arm finished at some point. So yeah, I will take you with me for that. I can't wait for that. I love tattoos. Each to their own. Not everybody likes them. I get that. I love them. I'm here for it, and I can't wait to take you on that the next stage of my tattoo journey. Okay, we've just got time for a couple more, and this is a lovely question. Oh, so many questions, but I would like to know if you have a favourite place you like to visit, somewhere you just feel at home. Yes, that's something I absolutely do have. I love to go to, as you know, Bolsover Castle, Sutton Scarsdale Hall, but my absolute favourite place in the whole world is Scarborough on the North Yorkshire coast. I love it there. It's just beautiful. All my happiest memories are there. So memories of holidays with my mum when I was little, memories of times I've had there with Mark. We had our honeymoon there. We've just had the best times there. My mum's ashes are there, and I love it. It's a beautiful, perfect, quintessential British seaside with a beautiful seafront, lovely clean sandy beaches. There's a north and south bay. We stay around on the North Bay at our lovely friend Gary's guest house, and it's just gorgeous. We love it, and yeah, it's gorgeous. And there's a castle, you know, castles are a passion of mine, and it's the most fabulous place. Beautiful cafes, little shops, little independent shops, and we love it. We're actually going in March for Mark's 65th birthday, and we're already counting the days, and we can't wait. So looking forward to going again. So yeah, Scarborough's my absolute favourite place. I love York as well. York is a beautiful city, absolutely stunning, and I honestly believe that in a past life I lived in York. And the reason I say that is because when I go there, I know it. I know the streets, I know all the shortcuts, I know where everything is, and I just feel like I've been there before. Do you feel like that about places? Let me know if you do. So yeah, those are my favourite places. They're the places where I'm happiest. But out of all the places that I could possibly be happiest, where I am right now is that place. I'm at home and I love being here. This is my happiest place, and I can't see that changing anytime soon. I love being here, I love living here, and I love having you here with me as well. Okay, this is the next to last question. Okay, so this questioner asks, my question is, have you been met with any negativity or lack of understanding from the people around you when you began to follow your path? I am 60 and have been practicing since the age of 13. Wow. So my nearest and dearest have always known, but other acquaintances reacted very differently from each other when they became aware. How have you dealt with this? I have to say, I've been very lucky. I don't think I've actually encountered what I would call negativity. There's been a couple of comments on my YouTube videos that have been from, let's say, over-enthusiastic religious people who have told me that I am practicing dark arts, that I am not doing the Lord's work, and, you know, basically that I'm, you know, the devil personified. Fine, okay, I've been called worse, but I when those comments appear on my videos, I remove them, not because I'm give a shiny shite about them, because I don't, but because I don't want my viewers to have those thoughts in their head, because not everybody's as lucky as me, and not everybody's as, you know, not everyone's as confident as me, and I don't want anybody walking away from my channel thinking, oh my god, is what that person said true? Because no, it isn't. So I bin those comments and never give them a second thought, and you should do that too. I haven't had any, I've not lost any friends as such, although one person who I thought was a really good friend did actually ghost me completely, which did upset me, because I thought we were very good friends, and I have a feeling it was to do with witchcraft, although they were never brave enough to say. I did ask them and they ignored me, they ignored my message, and so now my rule is I don't go after anybody. If someone decides that they don't want me in their life, fine, you know, whatever, you do you. I'm not that insecure. I'm confident enough in myself as a person to know that you know, relationships change, people move on, that's fine, whatever. But if you haven't got the maturity and the, you know, the grown-upness to actually say to me, I don't really like what you are, I don't like what your beliefs are, although I'm not sure that believing in unity and community and friendship and looking after the planet and becoming the best person you can be is an act of evil, to be honest. Anyway, yeah, so I don't go after anybody. If they don't like it, well, you know, bollocks to them, I'm not interested. They can live with their choices just as I live with mine. So I've not dealt with that much, mostly because I won't let myself deal with it. I just wave it goodbye. Yeah, so I realise that I'm luckier than a lot of people, but that was a really, really good question. Thank you. Okay, so my lovely friend Victoria has said, "You always look so lovely, Alison." Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Where do you like to buy your clothes from? Such a lovely question. Thank you so much for asking about clothes. And something non-witchy. I love clothes, absolutely love them. And one of my biggest issues is I have far too many. Excuse me. I love dresses. I love pretty things, but I'm also quite comfortable in jeans and a sweater, which is what you'd normally find me in. If I wasn't filming today, I'd definitely be in sweatpants and sweater, but I think you deserve something a little bit more, you know, a bit of an effort made for you. Here in the UK, we have some really, really nice shops, one of which is called Fat Face, and I love clothes from there. They're very much my style, although I wouldn't actually say I got a particular style as such. I just think if you love something, you should wear it. It doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what your body size is, your body type, you know, just whatever, just go for it. If you see something you love, just wear it. Life's too short. Buy the dress, buy the platform heels, whatever. And yeah, I love dresses. I love dresses from a company called Lindy Bop and from Popsy. But I try and buy them second hand if I can. I love Vinted, I love eBay, and I will always try and buy clothes second hand if I can. Because there's nothing like finding the exact thing that you're looking for on a second-hand site. The thrill of it is just brilliant. And yeah, I love that. Yeah, love dresses. This one is from Joni Clothing. And yeah, they're the places I tend to go to most, but always, you know, Vinted before anywhere else, not sponsored obviously. Vinted, eBay. I haven't used Depop, but I know people who have, who love it. But yeah, but I just think if you love something, you should just go for it and wear it and enjoy it. yeah, and okay, what else have we got? The last question. Okay, what made you decide that it was time to start your wonderful YouTube channel? Thank you so much. Thank you. That's a really, really lovely thing to say. It was always something that I fancied having a go at, and I didn't know where to start. And I think it was about 5 years ago I posted an altar tour. Was it an altar tour? I think it was. Just to see how it felt, and it was literally just me talking about my altar. There was no editing, there was nothing, because I hadn't got a clue. And I posted it, and when a couple of people watched it, I was thrilled to bits. I thought it was brilliant. And then I kind of shelved it, and then I tried another one a couple of years later, and that was my travel altar, I think. And again, it was literally just a point of view video of my travel altar, which needs redoing incidentally. And I posted that, and that got a few views as well. Just I mean I'm talking like a few, which to me was brilliant. And then I started to think maybe this was something I could do, but again, I hadn't got the confidence. I thought that I just didn't know enough. I didn't know what to do next. And then at the beginning of 2024, I thought, you know what, it's now or never. Life's too short, and I'm gonna have a go. And it was at the same time that I also set up my Etsy shop, and I just decided that I wanted to step out from the shadows, and I wanted to put myself out there with the intention of coming at it from the angle of an older woman, because I watch lots and lots of witchy creators who are all fabulous, but who are all a lot younger than me. I know that there's definitely been a movement towards more mature, especially women witches, putting content out, and I'm so pleased to see that. But I wanted to combine my witchy life and my mundane life on my channel, because witchcraft is not the only thing I've got in my life. Excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. And I just wanted to put myself out there with the intent of being an older woman on the path of the witch, and bringing people like me together. And I think that that's at the heart of it, and definitely what is happening. And I love that. I've got no regrets whatsoever, and it's been, this first year has been life-changing. It's been terrifying, I'm not gonna lie, but it's been life-changing, and I'm so grateful for it and the people that it's brought into my life. And thank you so much for being part of it. I am just blown away that there's actually people watching me, and I love it. Thank you so much for being here, and for watching, and for asking all these lovely questions. This is just brilliant. Thank you. I've enjoyed this so much. There's one thing that I have to share with you. This question came in quite late, and one of the things that I mentioned to this person who sent this question in, what happened was they looked at one of my products on my Etsy shop, and they mentioned that it had patchouli oil in it and how much they loved it. And I said how much I love patchouli and the memories it evokes, and I said that it evokes memories of my goth days way back in the day, and spending nights in the Thursday nights and Saturday nights in the Limit nightclub in Sheffield. If you're from Sheffield and you know of the Limit nightclub, please tell me in the comments. I would absolutely love to know if you spent time there in the, you know, the mid to late 80s. And yeah, this person said that they'd love to know more about my goth days. I have dug around for some photographic evidence, which I'm gonna put a picture over here of me in my goth prime. This one is when I was 15. And yes, that is Tom from the Thompson Twins. That's a story for another day. But then this next one is when I was 16. And this is me getting ready to head out for a night at the Limit. And yeah, so no one's seen these pictures on the internet, and now they're out there. But anyway, yeah, had a brilliant time with my friends and my cousins, and we used to have, honestly, it was the best time ever. I still love the goth music. I still love listening to The Mission, the Sisters of Mercy, Bauhaus. Although my absolute favourite bands ever are Depeche Mode and the Pet Shop Boys, which might be a big surprise. But yeah, so yeah, I had a great time. The pictures are out there now. No judgment, but yeah, I had great fun, and that was a lovely little conversation, so thank you very much for bringing that up. I have loved answering these questions. Thank you so much to everybody who sent a question in. As I said, I've not been able to answer them all, but I will do so on the community page on my YouTube channel. Sorry, I got lost there because George is trying to get into the wardrobe and I can hear him scratching at the door. Whatever, he's doing his own thing. Yeah, so thank you so much for asking questions and for listening to me ramble. It's been brilliant, and I hope that it's given you a little bit more insight into who I am, what makes me who I am, and I really hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. It's been lovely, and I'm going to go away and edit all this now, and hopefully get this up for you sometime today or tomorrow. But if you've got any other questions, please feel free to ask them, and I will do my very best to answer them. You can ask me anything. I have no judgment at all about any questions that you ask me. You can ask me anything, anytime. We're a community, and there is trust here, and there is no judgment, and I love that we are here. And thank you so much, and I hope that you will join me again soon. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and be part of our little community. And yeah, it's been great to spend time with you, and I will see you again very soon. And until we meet again, look after yourselves, keep your light shining, don't let anybody get you down, and blessed be.